When you walk into the woods at night, you can feel her presence. She murmurs by the tongues of leaves and moves on the howling of the wind. She follows behind you, snapping twigs. She's the mysterious and powerful entity living in the heart of the woods, and she's known as the mother of the forest, or Muma Paduri in Romanian folklore. She's said to be the guardian of the woodlands, overseeing their growth and protecting them from those who dare to enter her domain with ill intentions. Her appearance is terrifying, with a hunched figure resembling a tree stump covered in dry branches, and her hair resembling snakes slithering about her body. But have no fear. My name is Radiana, and I shall carry you safely into the woods to experience their magic and meet their mother. And to help you understand her and her mythical origins better, we shall also be joined on our journey by John White, my dear friend and specialist in Indo-European mythology. Our ancestors had a unique way of understanding the world around them, which we now refer to as animistic thinking, and it involved a belief in sylvan spirits and other supernatural beings who controlled the natural world. They believed that every natural event was the result of the actions of the spirits. As time went by, these spirits evolved. In many primitive religions, they came to be seen as demons or evil entities, responsible for causing death and destruction. Nevertheless, the system of representation originated from the human's innate desire to explain the mysteries of the world and to connect with the supernatural forces they believed to be all around them. One such mystery was the forest. Those living in the plains were intimidated by the unknown and vast vegetation. However, for those living in wild communities where the forest was the habitat of human life, sylvan spirits existed in various forms, ranging from protective guardians to malevolent demons. In many cultures, people believe that certain trees in the forest are abodes of spirits, and if someone chops such wood, the spirit will turn against them, bringing forth misfortunes like illness, poverty, or death. In some traditions, these trees are said to be specially chosen by forest spirits who protect them and harm anyone who disturbs them. One such entity is the Wrath, or Vulva in Romanian folklore, who is said to reside in the fir trees of her chosen forest. It is said that she likes the fir forest above all others and chooses a tree there as her home. If anyone touches her tree, the tree will consume their head, and if they cut it, the tree will fall on them and bring about certain death. And that is the price to pay for taking Vulva's home, who is thus doomed to howl and whine through the mountains, looking for a new home. The spirit of the forest is a good example of how our ancestors perceived the powerful and mysterious forces of the woods, capable of both good and evil. They were an integral part of the natural world, and people sought to understand and respect them, as they believed that doing so could bring them protection and good fortune. But the woods were not merely the home of mythical beings such as Vulva. They were also gateways to the afterlife. Inhabitants of wooded regions who had a strong connection with their environment buried their dead near or in the woods to ensure that their spirits would continue to exist in the natural world. And a patron forest spirit was often thought to protect and watch over the gravesite, with people dedicating to it specific rituals and offerings. Thus honored and appeased, the patron spirit was believed to keep the living safe from the dead, who were therefore doomed to an afterlife tethered to the woods. And this gave birth to the folk belief that whoever dies or is buried in the woods is therefore cursed to haunt the location until they are able to kill a lost traveler who can take their place. Such patron spirits or protective deities of the forest were also associated with hunting. The Estonians, Tatars, Bashkirs, Yakuts, and others likewise were said to offer sacrifices to the forest spirit in order to seek its favor before going on a hunt. And yet, for all its favor, the spirit became demonic, personifying the unknown that lies beyond the secure spaces where humans settled. This desacralized variant of the patron spirit is seen in its anthropomorphic representations of old men, old women, grandmothers, and ancestors. In Romanian folklore, they are believed to help travelers who have lost their way by showing them the right path, asking for food in return, offering guidance in collecting medicinal plants, and performing other commendable deeds if needed. They can also take the form of demonic old men and women who scare people, kidnap children, lure humans into relationships with them, and arrange marriages with their offspring. In the Caucasus and northern Siberia, among the Finno-Ugric Circassians and the Mordvins, for instance, the image of the mother is a preferred representation of the supernatural world of the woodlands. And so we find the same preference in Romanian folklore, where the forest is personified as a collective feminine entity that is referred to as Muma Pădurii, or the mother of the forest, and whose children are the trees. Muma Pădurii is the mistress of everything that is born, grows, and lives in the forest. She watches over the peace of her trees and punishes those who disturb the forest's tranquility. It is said that she punishes those who sing, shout, or whistle at night in her domain, for they may wake her children. And if her children are woken, she steals the sleep of human children to replenish that of her own. She cares deeply for her trees and even breastfeeds them, giving them her own milk like a human mother would to her child. She gives them names and monikers and scolds them when they grow crooked, cursing them to be cut or struck by lightning if they become disobedient. Her trees are her pride. In many magical customs and practices, her trees are ritual substitutes for worshipped deities who die and are reborn seasonally, such as the solstice log or the tree of May. Her trees also play an important role in Romanian customs surrounding birth, weddings, and funerals. Trees such as fir, oak, and linden are often used as phytomorphic substitutes for humans in these rituals. For instance, one such tree may be used as a protective symbol for children who are believed to have been unfavorably cursed by the fates. At weddings, an evergreen may symbolize the couple's future together, and at funerals, a fir tree may be used to represent the deceased, with mourners placing ribbons or flowers on it to pay their respects. As a protector of the forest, the mother fiercely defends her trees from excessive logging. She appears at night, howling with the wind and groaning when the trees are to be cut down by the hands of men. Those who disregard her warnings and proceed to cut down her trees are said to be punished, as she makes the trees fall on them and crush them to death. She will then take the logs, ensuring that they are not used for anything that may harm the forest. The mother lives in the heart of dense woods or at the crossroads that form within them. It is said that the brave and the restless might accidentally come across her and then face punishment for intruding upon her domain. In Romanian folk accounts and tales, she is often described as an old woman or nun, dressed in black, having theriomorphic features, resembling a stump-like tree full of dry branches with her hair hanging like snakes around her. She is long and hunched over, walking through the forest, wailing and leaning on a staff. Her dwelling is said to be a wooden hut deep within the heart of the forest, which is inaccessible to all except those who possess the secret knowledge on how to find it. It is said that she is carnivorous, feeding on the flesh of humans lost in her domain. However, compared to other forest spirits, she is like a weakened echo of a powerful witch from fairy tales, possessing a bellicose character that can often be appeased with a vegetable offering or bread, so long as it is offered from the heart. Yet, it is not always so simple to calm her fury. Often, her appetite for meat cannot be quelled by mere vegetables, and a human may find themselves in grave danger. When sensing her approach, it may be best to hide, for she is not to be trifled with. Many stories have been told of the mother's haunting appearance, tall with hair that drags along the forest floor, weeping and wailing in the dark of night. Once, a man foolishly taught to cook cornmeal in the forest, and the spirit appeared, her cries filling the air. Thinking he could appease her with his cooking, the man was deceived by her hunger. When she took the cornmeal off the fire and left, the man thought he had escaped her grasp. But alas, She found him later and devoured him. And so some tales make her a predator, lurking in the woods and waiting for the unwary traveler to cross her path. Those who have survived to tell the tales described her as tall as a house, draped in a mane of tangled hair that cascades all the way down to her heels and her body covered in fur. They said that her grotesque mouth stretches open like a gaping chasm filled with teeth as big as shovels. Her nails are like forks, and she has horse hoofs for feet that can crush anything in their path. When she moves through the forest, she does so naked, her mournful songs echoing through the trees like a haunting lament. Though she takes many forms, ranging from a half-human, half-tree creature to a fully formed tree with numerous branches, her most terrifying incarnation is that of a giant old woman with hands as big as rakes and legs as thick as poles. In disguise, she attacks children, stealing their sleep to soothe her own restless offspring. It is said that she targets beautiful and peaceful children, stealing their slumber and replacing it with the cries of her own ugly, mischievous brood. The children who wake up in place of her offspring often cry all night before finally falling into a fitful, uneasy sleep. And sometimes she even replaces human children with her own. Her children are recognized by their big heads and bodies as thin as a finger, soft legs greedy for milk, and slow speech for many years after birth. There are incantations to protect against her, such as, "Mother of all mothers, mother of the forests, I curse you, you answer me. I give you my child's crying, you give me his rest. Let him sleep like wood, let him be silent like an elm. As the birds sleep in you, so let my child sleep with me." Such rituals are often employed by desperate parents hoping to protect their children from her clutches. But sometimes that is not enough, and so parents would summon a witch to help. With a broom, fire, axe, and a pot of water beside her, the witch will sit on the doorstep of the home, facing a tree. The mother of the child will sit behind her, and just when the sun is about to set, the witch begins her spell. She throws the fire down and says, "By my fire, burn." She then touches the floor with the broom and says, "By my broom, scatter." Next, she pours the water down and says, "By my water, drown." Finally, she hammers the axe into the threshold of the door on the right and left, saying, "By my axe, fall." Although many spells are bent to banish the mother, others summon her to heal children's diseases. The plant most associated with her, sweet woodruff, which is also the phytomorphic substitute of the mother goddess, is used as the main ingredient in the fumigation or bathing of the ill, accompanied by a spell that begs the mother of the forest to restore good health. And so, the mysterious figure of the mother is associated with the enigmatic and often contradictory aspects of nature. On one hand, she is believed to be a predator, sometimes even a powerful witch or strigwaika who can steal the life force of vegetation and animals, taking the prosperity of the fields and the milk from cows. However, on the other hand, she is also revered as a divine protector of the environment, guiding lost souls, protecting the dead, healing children, and even driving away the heavy rain clouds and maintaining a balance between the elements. In many ways, her ambivalence reflects the intricate and often paradoxical relationship between humans and nature. She is both feared and respected, an embodiment of both life-giving and destructive forces. For example, when she takes milk from cows, it is sometimes said that she does so in order to feed hungry children. However, it is also possible that she may simply be hungry herself. Likewise, folk tales describing her as half woman and half man further emphasize her dual nature. She is a complex and multifaceted figure, embodying both masculine and feminine qualities. And in some legends, she also takes on the form of a serpent, which is often associated with transformation and renewal. Her appearance in folk accounts often seems to be a reflection of people's perception of the forest, and regardless of how she may reveal herself, her presence always causes great disturbances. One story tells of a man who fell asleep with his sheep only to hear the haunting sound of a beautiful whistle drawing closer. When the man looked in the direction of the sound, He saw a stunning woman with long hair and claws on her hands and feet. The sheep were unafraid of her as she passed by and warmed herself by the fire. Yet, as she descended a hill, she transformed into a stump covered in bark, leaving the shepherd yearning for her return. Another story recounts how she climbed into a wagon at night to frighten its occupants, looking at first as a beautiful woman and then transforming into a hideous hag. Her appearance often leaves those who see her unsure of what they have witnessed. She can be described as a woman as tall as a tree, with a hunched-over, hair-covered body, hooves for feet, and snake-like hair cascading down to her heels. Yet, in the moonlight, she can transform into a beautiful vision of a woman covered in moss or frost, changing her height and appearance to further confuse onlookers. If she finds people at the border between the forest and a body of water, she whisks them away deep into the woods, and many have claimed to have thus experienced time travel and spatial distortion. One woman, washing shirts in a stream, claimed that she was led into the forest by the mother singing. She wandered for 3 days in wild areas of the forest and was unable to speak for another 9 thereafter. It was as if she had lived through a dream, a surreal encounter with an otherworldly being. In yet another tale, a hunter was resting in the heart of a dense forest, beneath the grandiose canopy of an old oak tree. He found himself succumbing to a deep slumber, but in the midst of his peaceful repose, he was abruptly awakened by a voice that whispered his name. Startled, he gazed around the forest floor in search of the source of the mysterious sound, and soon his eyes came to rest on an old woman who was seated nearby, rocking back and forth with an unsettling rhythm. Terrified, the hunter reached out to grab his trusty gun, but as he did so, he was overcome by a strange and inexplicable heaviness that paralyzed his hand. And yet, as he struggled to break free from the grips of this strange and ominous force, the apparition began to weep, its mournful cries echoing throughout the forest. And then she spoke, calling him to a fate that would forever bind him to her side. But he resisted, and managed to reach across at his chest, and as he did so, the old woman whined and cried, warning him that he had been touched by forces beyond his understanding, forces that would shape the course of his life in ways that he could not imagine. It is said that he had bad luck for the rest of his days thereafter. But, for all the terrifying folklore surrounding the Mother of the Forest, she is the guardian of the woods, a spirit that reigns over the ancient groves, where her ethereal voice can be heard singing the very song of the woods. She is a protector of the trees, having nursed them all from tiny saplings to towering giants, and will not hesitate to frighten or even kill those who would dare to harm or wake them. She embodies the mysterious and often unpredictable aspects of nature itself. She is also a symbol of the mystical power and beauty of the forest. Her cry is both haunting and mesmerizing, and those who encounter her are often struck by a sense of awe and reverence. Those who innocently venture into the woods or their borders see her as beautiful and alluring, and she sees them just the same, often inviting them to be with her and make beautiful children together. This erotic aspect makes her the maiden or the daughter of the forest, as she appears young and lustful. Despite her powers of metamorphosis, scholars and folks alike tend to disagree that she is one and the same. The mother is a crone, a hideous, sorrowful, and scary hag to them, while the maiden is young, cheerful, and desirable. But to be a mother, the mistress of the forest must first be a maiden. The mother of the forest is said to have many children with the devil, which are all ugly, and the father of the forest. While the former is a Christian addition to her myth, the latter carries traces of a much older deity. The father of the forest, also known as the man or elder of the forest, rules over all that thrives and blossoms in his realm. He rules the woods alongside the mother, and like her, he is often invoked in folk rituals for protection. His image embodies the wildness and power of nature. He is often depicted wearing bare hooves with bark-like hair on his feet, and his deep, resonant voice can be heard echoing through the woods. His footfalls sound like snapping branches, and he appears as a strong gust of wind that can fling open doors and windows. He appears to be a natural force that commands respect and reverence. As the old man of the forest, he is often depicted as a wise and kind figure who protects the woods and its inhabitants and provides guidance to those who seek his help. He is usually portrayed as a bearded old man, with long hair and wearing clothes made of leaves and bark. According to folklore, he can be appeased with offerings of bread, honey, and wine, and can even grant wishes to those who show him respect and kindness. He is also believed to be a powerful healer, able to cure various ailments and diseases using herbs and other natural remedies found in his domain. In some stories, he is also portrayed as a trickster figure who enjoys playing pranks on humans and causing mischief in the villages near the woods. However, he is never truly malicious, and his actions are usually harmless and playful. But he is not the only consort of the Mother of the Forest. While he rules alongside her, she conceives her many children with mankind as well. Some believe that the maiden or daughter of the forest is the offspring of the mother and father, but save for a few folk tales that suggest that, the maiden seems to be but a prerequisite to the motherhood of the old woman of the forest. The forest maiden is described as a black woman with long hair and legs like a twisted rope with hooves. She is often seen near bodies of water, seductively singing, dancing, or bathing. When viewed from the front, she appears as a woman, but from behind she looks like a hollowed-out log. She can appear to be beautiful, but she can also be dangerous and can take people's wits if they cross her path. She is also believed to take on various shapes, such as a creature that is half human and half animal, particularly a mare. She is depicted as a tall, slender figure with long hair that reaches down to her feet and is covered in bark and moss or is entirely barefoot and covered with hair. The mythical figure is known for deceiving young men whom she abducts, has children with, and leaves wandering in the forest. To protect themselves from her, men must carry combs and wear belts when venturing near or into the woods. She is known to shun men who wear such objects, because whoever manages to girdle her takes her power and can learn great secrets from her, secrets that she does not want to reveal. But if she is able to seduce a man, she will show herself as his lover or the most desirable woman he had ever seen, and thus lure him out of his home every night until she takes him away to the heart of the woods. To help the man escape the maiden, village witches create a doll out of straw, dress it in the man's clothing, and lay it on its bed. In the meantime, the man is taken to a crossroads to break the spell. Fooled, the maiden thus attempts to make love to the straw man and, unsuccessful to do so, she becomes disenchanted with the man and leaves him forever. Unlike the mother, the maiden is more excited and naive and attempts to engage in human relations, although she is often demonized and banished. Once demonized and thus banished, she becomes truly feral and frightening, cursing the beauty of humans and taking away their peace and sleep to give it to her children. The belief in this sylvan spirit may seem superstitious, but it holds a significant cultural value for the people who have lived in and around the forested areas of Romania for centuries. It's a reflection of their beliefs and practices and how they've interacted with the natural world around them. But here is where my service as a storyteller ends, and where that of mythology scholars begins. And so I leave you in the trusty hands of John White, my dear friend and specialist in Indo-European mythology, whose expertise can help us better understand the origins of the mythical forest spirit.
Why did the mother and father of the forest appear? And for me, the answer can be found in the landscape, which is a contributing factor to much mythology. Archaeology and DNA analysis show us that the agricultural farmers, when they travelled west from Anatolia and the Near East and arrived in Europe about 8,000 years ago, they stopped for over 1,000 years as they came to grips with this change in landscape. The flat land suited for agriculture changed into hills, mountains, and for us in this story, forest. This new landscape would have created stories and myth, and from myth ritual would develop, and further stories would come and go through time. But what would have really helped is that when the Indo-Europeans came to Europe, again travelling west, they encountered the same issues. The steppe where they herd their cattle transformed into hills, mountains and forest. And just like the agricultural farmers, they were left for 1,000 years to ponder how to control the landscape to enable their pastoral practices to continue. The controlling of the landscape by both sets of cultures would then lead to these stories, and because the Indo-Europeans had mixed with the early European farmers, as well as the hunter-gatherers, any similar stories would have persisted. Stories of the forest, stories about clearing the forest, but also those stories where things were sighted and experienced that were new to these people. New sights, new sounds, new smells. We also know the Indo-Europeans were believers in spirits, and we see these transform from a chaos in the winds, the Wothu, and these spirits over time become one chief spirit, who is then euhemerized into Wode, then Woden. And there is much evidence to support this. And whilst there is less evidence, less tangible evidence to support the same process with the father of the forest, there are certainly a number of pieces of evidence that align so well that this could well be the process of the creation of that deity. And then we couple this with these cultures' belief in the cycle of life, agriculturally, where there is growth, then decay, and then rebirth, or the pastoral, if you take from the land, you must sacrifice to put things back. These elements again are found in the folk tales and poems of the Romanians about the forest, and show how important the landscape and the environment was to our ancestors and should be to us today. But there is a potentially uncomfortable loose end, and that is, how did the mother of the forest become related to Mother Earth, or Roman Terra Mater, the Greek Gaia? We know these goddesses were about the earth, fertility and the cycle of life, and so align themselves to how the mother of the forest behaves. But they were agricultural in their nature and origins from an environment without forests. And we see for Gaia, for example, whilst not being directly related to the forest, giving birth to nymphs that are more relatable to specific areas of nature. But we also see that these mother-type gods are less well regarded in the pantheons to which they sit. And we can evidence this through Demeter, who, whilst part of the Olympians, is regarded as a lower-tier god. This suggests again that Indo-European influence within Romanian mythology outweighed the influence of the early European farmers. These nymphs as Gaia could be argued to persist in the Zane, fairies or even wraiths, which are more Indo-European, as myths about these are seen not only in Romania but also in the Slavic regions. And so if we put all this together, we see an agricultural culture with a Mother Earth figure, create mythology around forests, which is then taken over and modified by the pastoral farmers, who probably replaced the original Romanian version of the agricultural Mother Earth, the mother of the forest figure, whilst keeping some of her aspects that remain the folklore today.
As evidenced by John, the forest is far from being a scary place ruled by demonic spirits, but rather it is a place once believed to be the realm of a wild and primitive mother goddess whose nurturing and protection were dedicated to the vegetation, the humans around it, and their dead. In her realm, magic has not decayed. The forest is forever a place where the leaves murmur ancient secrets and spirits chant forgotten songs. It is a passage into the unknown cosmos. Here, nature is calm and mystical, and the soul is touched by mysterious forces. Until next time, remember, honor the forest and her children's slumber.